Okay. Welcome all. So let's call the meeting to order of the Board of Trustees of the College of the Sequoias. The time is 5:05 and today's meeting is September 12th, 2022. We have no reportable action items from the closed session. And if you'll join me, please, Mr. Avey, would you lead us in the flag salute?
Sure. Please rise. Salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item is oath of office for our new student trustee, McIntyre.
Matt, step up to the podium.
First of all, welcome. We're glad you're here.
Thanks for having me.
Everybody, this is McIntyre Garbani. You sit next up if you want to. Wait a minute, we're the same size. I've known this guy a long time. Congratulations, Mac. That's right. Raise your right hand. I, McIntyre Garbani,
I, McIntyre Garbani,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear,
that I will support and defend the Constitution
so I will solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic.
foreign and domestic,
That I swear I will bear
that I swear I will bear
true faith and allegiance
true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California.
and the Constitution of the State of California,
That I take this obligation freely,
that I take this obligation freely,
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion.
or purpose of evasion,
And that I will well
that I will well
and faithfully discharge
and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, welcome.
I'll tell you, I'm not sure who came up with that oath,
Purpose to try to get us.
but I don't think it was a English instructor.
Will and well,
Yeah.
The will well part always catches people.
and purpose of evasion.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what that one is.
Need to pause between the will and the well.
Okay, next time. Congratulations, Mac. It's good to have you here.
And welcome. We do have in just a moment an opportunity for our reports of both the student trustee as well as the trustees. So at that time, I'll give you a couple of minutes to think about if you could share with us just a little bit about yourself. We would love to know a little more. This is our first opportunity to meet McIntyre. And so with that, move to public comment. Per board policy 2350, any person may address the board at this time, either on an agenda item or other matters of interest to the public that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. A maximum of 5 minutes is allowed for each speaker, the maximum time of 15 per item unless otherwise extended by the board. So at this time, if there are any public comments concerning items on the agenda, is there anyone in the audience that would like to do that? Seeing none. Any public comments concerning items not on tonight's agenda? And also seeing none. We'll move now to item 5, which is a board and executive staff reports. We do routinely give updates on any activities that we have had in the intervening time between the meetings. And McIntyre, would you like to start? Typically, the student trustee will give us a general idea of what's happening in student council or student council type of activities. And tonight, if you don't mind, if you could just share a little bit about yourself, I know I'd appreciate it.
How's it going, guys? My name is McIntyre Garbani. I graduated from CVC in 2015. went to school to Colorado State for a year, decided it wasn't a good fit, and did a little bit of working on the side. And then just recently, last year was my first consecutive full year back at school full time. I joined the swim team and the student senate, and really happy to be here. So thanks for having me. And then as far as student senate goes or student affairs goes, we just recently had our club rush, and it was a great event, great turnout. So that's about it for now.
Successful?
Great, yeah, it was great. It was great. Lots of students, other than the heat wave, but.
Well, if they can brave that,
We're not talking about that,
they're
it's over.
committed, right? All right.
Good, welcome.
Trustee Nunes?
I'm here to declare that the heat wave is over.
They sent you, huh?
And with that, speaking of heat wave, I attended the on-campus football game on Saturday, and quite a nice crowd on hand. President Calvin did the best he could to keep me cool with some water and that sort of thing, so it's a very pleasant experience. I think the staff on campus handled all that very well. I'm looking forward to see when all the improvements are complete.
I wanted to make a quick comment about convocation. Really enjoyed seeing the presence thereof. Understand not everyone was there, but some people were in different classrooms, maybe some online. But just really enjoyed seeing the environment, how excited people are to get the year started, and then the nice social that was afterwards. So just wanted to make a quick comment about that.
I'm gonna not repeat what Raymond said, but I'm gonna agree with what Raymond said. And when I was sitting in convocation and it was almost over, you know what I thought? I think all the students need to watch it in a class. That way they'll just get a feel for what happens at the college. So maybe the teachers could show that as like extra credit or something. I think it'd be good for the students to see, and just to see the support of the teachers that are there, and all it takes to make happen what they get to reap the benefits of every day. So yeah, great convocation to everybody that helped with that, Brent, and all the presentations. I appreciate it, and it was nice to be back and see everybody back outside mingling. That was good. So thank you.
Very, very good. The only thing I would add to that is that I was struck once again by the eloquence of our superintendent president in his ability to convey information that is sometimes technical, sometimes sensitive. But I thought that I was extremely proud walking away from that I felt like everybody was valued, and I'm proud to be part of the organization that would have someone like that as the spokesperson. So I appreciate that. It's very, very well done.
Thank you.
Very well done. Next up is the foundation. Let's see. Anything else on reports? Foundation report, Mr. Foster.
Come up here after you talk about Brent's eloquence.
That's right.
I just have a quick report. I did want to share with you folks that on September 1st, I had the pleasure of meeting the Integrated Teacher Education Program cohort for 2022-2023. It's 2 classrooms of 25. So there's 50 students in that cohort. They had over 200 applications. So they were selected out, 50 out of those 200. And 43 of the 50 were COS alum. And so I met with those folks to basically get a group photo because the COS Foundation, through our Local Heroes Fund, provides each one of them a $1,000 scholarship to help them with their educational expenses. So we got the group photo, handed them a COS alumni lanyard, and sent them on their way into their classrooms. The photo, Mac, if you could pass that along to everybody to take a look. I just brought up a hard copy of that for you folks to take a quick picture of or take a quick look at. The other thing I wanted to share with you is that we have a few upcoming events. The COS Retiree Brunch is something that we've been doing with President Calvin pretty much like clockwork, except for a couple of times off where we had the pandemic. But once every semester, twice a year, we host this. We're hosting it at the Tulare campus, this next one, and it's on September 23rd from 10 to 11:30. We are having, also at the Tulare campus, our annual Crush Party. And if you recall, last year we did it outside. And we got such positive reviews, we're doing it outside again. Hopefully Ken's information is correct. And on October 7th, the heat wave will still be over, and we'll be in good shape. But we'll have a little bit of hybrid of indoor-outdoor kind of setup on October 7th from 6 to 9 p.m. And then Power of the Purse is on November 17th at the Visalia Country Club. And so we have those events. You have a little card to give you those reminders for in the future.
Tim?
Yes.
My information is just as reliable as the best meteorologist on television.
Okay, well that says something.
Look at him backing away from that already.
That's great.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. Next up is the accreditation report. Dr. Lacerna.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. You have the accreditation report in your packet there, and there's just a couple quick updates. The accreditation final draft of the midterm report is being submitted this week, and the accreditation work group is now reviewing the timeline for our institutional self-evaluation that will be due in December 2024 for our fall 2025 peer review site visit. The other exciting news is out of the ACCJC itself, and the first draft of the revised accreditation standards are complete. We will just miss the cutoff for the new accreditation standards, but they're available. I put a link in there. If you have the electronic version, there's a link to look at the draft of the standards and to provide any feedback that you have on the standards. And this will be reviewed at the commission meeting in January 2023. The draft is, I'm just going to read from this, reflects the collective work of over 80 individuals from 59 institutions, public, private, California, Hawaii, Western Pacific, and they met in small groups, reviewed, wrote, and the new standards are designed to focus on quality improvement efforts around the critical elements of student learning, student achievement, and a closure of institutional equity gaps. And they also, the key is that it avoids redundancy. So our reports are supposed to be shorter after that. I did want to mention that Dr. Sarah Harris, one of our very own faculty members, was on the review team. And so she helped in writing and revising and reviewing these standards. And I will be at the commission meeting to give the final approval. So if you have any feedback, please, you can send it to me as well. And then the last thing I sent out on a COS e-news is that the ACCJC is seeking interest forms from individuals to serve on the commission's appeals hearing panel pool. And basically, if a college does an appeal, there's a group that listens to the appeal. And so they're looking for volunteers to serve on that appeals commission. And I did send that out on an e-news that if anyone was interested, they can sign up to be on that.
That sounds like a commission to stay away from.
Right? Exactly. So that is the report. Any questions?
Questions? Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is the Superintendent President's report. Dr. Calvin.
Thank you, President Lane. So I'm thrilled. Tonight we get to meet three new faculty members, Candy, Jailene, and Julianne. Fabulous. So excited for our board to meet all three of you. I think Dr. Lacerna in a moment will introduce the deans that will introduce our new faculty, but I have two opportunities to praise and maybe embarrass a little bit a couple of faculty members. So Randy and Charlie, if you can come up to the podium. Randy is the head of our welding department, full-time faculty, and he was awarded the 2022 Howard E. Adkins Memorial Instructor Membership Award from the American Welding Society, a national organization. So a really big deal. Congratulations, Randy. That's fabulous. And then at about the same time, he was had a feature article done on him in the Valley Voice under the headline, COS Instructor Randy Emery, Building Back America, One Student at a Time. Fabulous, Randy. Thank you very much.
I got elected to the board
is that right? AWS?
AWS Board of Directors, and I'm excited about that. We're going to have the best advisory committee in the nation.
That's fabulous. Congratulations,
I'm
Randy.
nervous and excited at the same time. I start January 1st.
That's awesome. So Charlie Aby, not to be outdone, was the recipient of the 2022 Excellence in Education Award sponsored by Hunter Industries. This award recognizes an outstanding educator who teaches irrigation, water management, and/or water conservation in affiliation with 2- and 4-year universities and colleges, and has a commitment to not only elevating the level of education, but also promoting the field of irrigation as a viable and sustainable career to students. And man, do we need it in this region. Congratulations, Charlie.
Thank the administration, board, and Luann for, really supporting our irrigation program. We're really, ground zero, like you said, in Sigma and, the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act and all that. So again, I appreciate all the support.
You guys make us shine. Couldn't be prouder, and thank you for everything you do for the College of the Sequoias.
I have a quick board comment.
Okay.
So I love those emails that I get about these two awards because I have a few friends who've chosen to send their children or friends who've sent, to Reedley or West Hills. So when I get those emails, I have a little group that I send those emails to.
What kind of friends are you hanging out
Are
with
you
anyway?
sure you wanted to
West Hills
send?
and Reedley? What?
And I had one of them as a friend of one, so my son is at COS, but one of his friends chose to go to West Hills. So the other day he told my son, your mom sent my mom an email about the welding program at COS. And he goes, I think it looks like a really nice welding shop. I said, yeah, you need to go look at it. So thank you for giving me some PR stuff, both of you. Promoting you guys all we can. So thank you for all you do. And Luann for taking the helm out there. It's awesome. Yep.
True superstars. And we do appreciate, the board absolutely appreciates, everything you've done to go above and beyond what could ever be expected of an instructor and a molder of the future generation. We really do appreciate what you're doing. Thank you.
Good job, fellas. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, then, now we get to meet 3 fabulous new faculty members, and to start the festivities, I'll introduce Dr. Lacerna back again.
All right, so I am going to just hand it right over, and really excited for our 3 new faculty members. We had 2 retirements, and so 2 of them are replacing some recent retirees, and 1 is a brand new growth position. And so our wonderful dean, Dr. Wilcoxon, is going to introduce them. So I'll invite Dr. Wilcoxon and our 3 faculty members to come up here.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm going to just go in order in which they're standing. So I will start with Jailene Elizondo. She is our newest full-time ethnic studies instructor. Jailene completed her bachelor's degree in Black Studies / Educational Studies at UC Santa Barbara, and then earned her master's degree from Fresno State in Education, Multicultural / Multilingual Studies. Previously, Jailene served as an adjunct education navigator for Farmersville Unified School District and also taught for both Colorosi School District and the Munson Sultan Joint Unified School District. She was also an ethnic studies adjunct instructor here before hiring on as a full-timer. She grew up in Monson, a small town just outside of Dinuba. She's the oldest of 6 and the first in her family to go to college. As a sub, she was actually able to teach her siblings in their classes on multiple occasions. She married about a year ago and then moved to Visalia with her husband, who is a fire lieutenant for the Tulare County Fire Department. So they always are willing and appreciate having the opportunity to participate in community events in all surrounding neighborhoods. Enjoy things such as going to the beach, fishing, amusement parks, and just being able to travel new places. Quite often taking Jailene's siblings along with them. So they have 2 dogs and look forward to starting their own family in the near future. So please join me in welcoming Jailene Elizondo to the COS.
I just want to say say thank you for this opportunity. I'm really excited to be here. I'm also a little bit nervous. My first full-time is a full year, but I'm here to learn and excited. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Okay, next up we have Julianne Jones, who was hired as our new human services professor after serving as an adjunct instructor here for approximately 6 years. Julianne earned her bachelor's degree in social work from Sacramento State and her master's in social work from Long Beach State. Let's see, in addition to her adjunct work, Julianne has worked in the field of child welfare for over 20 years. Most recently, her work focused on overseeing county and statewide programs which provide direct and supportive services to guardianship and adoptive families. Julianne has lived in Visalia for 19 years with her husband and 3 children. Her son is currently serving in the military and was married over this past summer. He is the 4th generation in their family to serve in the Army. So her oldest daughter is a CHP 911 dispatcher, and her youngest daughter is currently in college studying psychology. Julianne loves her sheepadoodle, Charlie, who joined the family this summer. In her free time, she likes to do things such as go to the beach or play a good card game. Most importantly, she has loved her career in social work and is passionate about the children and families she has served. Moving into the classroom full-time has been a lifelong dream of hers. So again, please join me in congratulating Julianne Jones.
Okay, I didn't know that we were going to have to say anything, right? Nobody told us that. I'm really excited. Like he said, I've been here almost 7 years. I've been waiting for the day for Gaylor to retire. I love him, but I'm like,
You gotta push him out the door, didn't you?
isn't it time yet, Gaylor? Come on. So, I mean, I've been dreaming of this ever since the day I graduated with my master's degree. I said I want to get back in the classroom. Like at the end of my career, that's what I want to do. And so he finally left, and I was so nervous about the position, and so I wanted it so bad. And when President Calvin called me, I'm pretty sure I screamed in his ear. He's like,
I wasn't going to bring that up.
he goes, I think that's a yes. And I said, it's a yes, it's a yes. So I'm very, very excited to be here. Thank you.
Okay, and finally we have Candido Alvarez, who goes by Candy, as most of you probably know him. He joins our Administration of Justice faculty or department after a 26-year law enforcement career with Visalia Police Department, where he served as one of Chief Jason Salazar's 2 captains. Candy earned an AA in Fine Arts from COS and both his bachelor's and master's degrees in criminology from Fresno State. He recently served as an adjunct instructor here at COS and volunteered as a mentor in the Puente program. Candy and his wife Diana have been married for 20 years. They have 2 twin daughters, Madeline and Ellison. The girls are juniors at El Diamante High School and are varsity soccer players. They also play club soccer, which occupies a fair bit of Candy and his wife's time as they drive all over the place year-round watching soccer games. His daughters plan on attending COS and playing soccer at COS as well, and they have a 3-year-old Akita named Kelly. Okay. Candy enjoys reading history and watching documentaries, especially things related to war and crime. They imagine that. They enjoy going to concerts, the beach, museums, and Dodger games. So he also enjoys regular coffee time with his dad, Candido Sr., and his friend Paul. Candy has been a member of the Visalia Council of Knights of Columbus since approximately 2010. The council focuses on helping other local charities, including the Bethlehem Center, and honoring local first responders. Please join me in welcoming Candy Alvarez to the COS family.
I'd like to thank the board and President Calvin and Dr. Lucerna and Dr. Wilcoxon for extending this opportunity for me to be able to continue what's dear to my heart, preparing the future generations of criminal justice practitioners. In '94, when I started Visalia PD, I felt right away I chose the right home, and I already feel this way from day one here. So again, thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
President Lane, I just wanted to say a word to Mr. Alvarez. We have something in common. Both of our fathers were named Candido.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Me
you.
and
We-
Julie might have something in common because I think he was probably the same thing about Wheeler. Get out. When you- He has big shoes to fill though with Dave Wheeler being gone, so we have a lot of high hopes for him though.
We're going to meet a few more faculty members in the next 2 months, and they got us off to a great start. So thank you for joining us this evening.
We really appreciate you guys coming. It's nice to make a.
Those that have been recognized certainly don't hesitate to head out the door. You're absolutely welcome, but please, if you have other things to do.
I was gonna say, you just need to take that coat off and put a different t-shirt on. Thank you for being here. Thank you.
I think President Calvin has a couple of additional things to say. So we'll just pause there for a moment. Mr. Arzola, you will
Quick
be.
comment about,
Yes,
I
please.
saw Captain Alvarez post his last day on Visalia Unified, and the next day I saw him at convocation. I was like, he didn't even take any time off or anything. I was like, retired, and the next day is at convocation, so I was happy to see him there at convocation, but I was like, man, I would have took a month or two off at least, but happy to have him on board.
It's so nice to get, either COS alumni or people in our community. It's just, they're teaching the future students, but when they come out of, especially in law enforcement or nursing, and, they're just such a good connection to them into the workforce because some of them just came from there. They were there 15 years ago, and yeah, we're really lucky that a lot of people choose a career and want to come back here and teach. That's such a great thing.
Absolutely. Hey, Tim, while we have just a moment, I should know the answer to this, but could you tell me what the power of the purse is?
It is a fundraiser
Yeah.
that we do at the COS Foundation specifically for scholarships for students that are single parents re-entering college. Okay. So $2,000 scholarships, and so we host a luncheon/purse auction. Probably why you haven't heard of it before, but it's a.
No, I've heard the term, but
Okay, so it's a purse auction at
Okay.
luncheon.
Very fun.
All you need to know is send Paula over with a blank check.
That's right, that's right.
And she'll come home with 5 purses.
All right. Anything else, Dr. Kelly?
No,
For your
thank you,
comments?
President.
Okay. Reports coming up. Mr. Arzola, representing Academic Senate President's report. Anything, sir, from you?
No report, sir. Thank you very much.
All right, all right. Thank you for being here. Costa President's report update. Ms. Redden, do not see her in the audience. Mr. Terry, would you? Nothing? Okay. Well, this is going to be a quick one. COSAFA President's report. Ms. Alberti. Anyone representing her? No. Next up is the informational items, actuarial study of retiree health liabilities and OPEB trust update. Mr. Perez.
Thank you, Board. Tonight, this is a short one. This is actually a actuarial rollover evaluation. Remember, every 2 years we have the full evaluation, so this is a rollover. And what I mean by rollover, it's the same assumptions we used last year, but I wanted to be transparent and show you how our OPEB trust fund is doing. Probably like everybody else's portfolio values have gone down in value. Again, this is for our retirees, and to be eligible is you have to be a retiree. So it's classified, faculty, management, at least 10 years at COS, retire at 55, and it covers you up through 65, medical, dental, and vision. If you move up, Megan, to the last page, right there. I just want to show you, last year what we showed was, look at the middle column there, our total OPEB liability, a little over 11 million, and our irrevocable trust fund was at 13.2, so we're actually overfunded, or fully funded, our OPEB by 2.1 million. Look to today, again, using the same numbers. However, that second row, fiduciary net position, that's our OPEB irrevocable trust, it's gone from 13.2 to 11.6, or a 12.2% reduction. Again, like everybody else's portfolio, it's a paper loss. We expect that to go back up. The good news is we're still fully funded by a little over $500,000. Again, we don't use that dollars. We set it aside. We are a pay-as-you-go district, which means we pay for the retiree benefits in the tune of a little over $703,000. That's in our budget, which you'll see tonight, that you'll eventually approve. So I just wanted to go over, this is just a totally rollover. Next year, we'll have our consultant go over the entire actuarial study. The other board members that are not part of the finance subcommittee, we talked about this earlier in the board subcommittee finance, and I'll be taking this to the retreat, and we'll look a little more in depth in the actuarial study for OPEB. So with that, just more information. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Ron, this may not be necessarily for you, but maybe President Calvin might. Do I recall correctly that during the economic downturn and at one time we actually did pay out of this fund for the?
During my interim year, we looked into the possibility of it, because you can pay for either the retiree benefits, or you can also pay your current employees' retiree benefits out of it. Those are the two allowable, and so we thought about it because those were very, very desperate times, but didn't ever pull the trigger on it. Didn't ever use that fund for either the retirees or the current employees' benefits.
Yeah, that's kind of consistent.
Yeah, we thought about it though. Thought about it real hard.
Any other questions?
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
Dr. Lacerna, low enroll justification report, fall 2022.
Okay, so each year, each semester, we're required by Board Policy 4071 to share with you the canceled and low enrolled section classes. And so I will start with the low enrolled classes justification report, and you can see the spreadsheet in front of you. Just as a reminder, our general guideline is minimum of 20 for a lecture class and a minimum of 15 students for a lecture lab or lab class. But there's a lot of other variables in that policy that allows us to make exceptions. And what I like about this report, one, it's shorter than the last 2 years. And two is when you look, for example, if you start with agriculture, you see a lot of these are in 18, 14, and 15. So we have 18 students in a class. In this case, it's a single section of that class. It's the only one offered. We're not going to cancel that. There's nowhere else for those students to go. And so we will work with the department and keep those classes in many cases. So you can see that's the group from agriculture. In business, we have several classes, but you can see they were at 18, 16, 19, and the other exception is if they're in a program sequence, so they're required to continue with the program. We want to keep those classes. In consumer family studies, we have some 18s. There's a few lower ones with some 10s, and when you see something like that stands out, like the culinary 223, which had 6, we made an exception with that because it was a course that's required for students to graduate that we haven't offered in several semesters because we couldn't get the enrollment in it. And so we had 6 students that had to have that course to graduate or get their certificate, so then we'll run a course like that. If you go on to the next page, we have a small group of classes in English, and these were, most of them were the only option, for example, during the day, in this case in Hanford, or during the evening, in this case also in Hanford. You can see fine arts. We had a few sections that it was the only course offered in those areas. The drama 4s, drama 13 and 14s, those are very specific courses for the degree. Industry and technology, we had a few classes, but again, those are 15 for a lab. Language and communication, one of the areas we're really researching is our American Sign Language, Spanish. We've had some enrollment issues with them, but again, you can see that they're up in the 19, 17, 18s for those. And then last page, we have a few classes in math, and again, these are mostly, for the most part, our higher level math classes that sometimes are a little bit lower enrolled, but again, 19, 16, 18. 2 classes in science, physical geography class and modern physics, and then a few classes in social science. Building up that administration of justice program again with 2 pretty new faculty members that are working hard to get that enrollment up. But again, you're looking at 17, 18 students in a class, and then a couple of classes in student services, 2 of which were at dual enrollment classes off campus. So I think this is pretty normal from what we would see. Glad, again, like I said, that it's not as long as they were a few years, the last 2 years, and this is pretty normal for what we have seen in the past.
Jennifer,
Yes.
are these 2 reports, are they internal, or do you have to send this off to the chancellor's office?
They're just internal. It's required by our board policy to present this to you as a board. The other one is the canceled class justification report, and you can see this is also shorter, although not as long as I like to see, but these are classes that we would have canceled in advance because we knew in advance that they were going to be low enrolled, and so rather, before too many students get in, we would cancel them as far in advance as possible while allowing opportunity for students to get in. So you can see there was 1 in agriculture, a few in business. And normally, like when you see under English, there was like English 2. And so there were numerous sections of English 2, and we would see most of them had 15, 16, 17, and then you'll have a group of them that had 0, 1, or 2 students enrolled in them. So we'll cancel those so that the other sections can fill. So when you see something like that, that's usually what happened. You can see again, on the second page, Spanish and American Sign Language. We're still trying to figure out exactly what happened to those classes over the last 2 years, but we are working closely with the faculty on making sure we have the right amount of offerings for those classes. A few changes in math on the bottom, and then a few cancellations again in science and social science. But this is pretty normal to what you see every year for canceled classes as well. That is the report, if there are no questions. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And the 2022 annual compliance and progress updates, Dr. Calvin?
Oh, I said, never mind. I was mixed up. Yes. Thank you, Megan. So we've got several different compliance and progress updates that we provide during the September board meeting, and I'll run through them here this evening. The first that's shown up there, the annual report on the master plan, is one that we now do in December. We made that change a year or 2 ago, and so just for when data comes in and so forth, we've made that change. So at the December meeting each year, I'll do the annual report on the master plan. So tonight, I'll be going through the ACCJC required institution set standard, the Chancellor's Office Student Success Metrics Dashboard, the Federal Student Right to Know Rate Disclosure website, the Federal College Scorecard, and then the Chancellor's Office COVID-19 Emergency Conditions Recovery Plan Lost Students report. Feel free to stop me at any point. Again, here's the master plan and strategic plan that we'll be looking at in December. Comes with an annual progress report known as the annual report on the master plan. I think Dolly just put all that in there so we could have those drapes.
Wow, that's pretty fancy, Doll.
Yeah, he's the master showman over there. So this is a report that we provide as evidence to the ACCJC, our accrediting body, every year. It revolves around our institution set minimum standards and our aspiration or stretch goals. You've seen this every year now for some time. You know the criteria that goes into setting these. You know that we include a lot of different groups and present this look at these 4 areas. We set a minimum and a stretch goal for each of them based on 6-year averages, which I'll get to in just a moment. When we're setting these standards, they need to be reasonable, appropriate, and realistic, and I think you'll see that they absolutely are. And then, again, based on institutional data and history, that makes sense to all of us. So with that, you can see the ranges that we use, and all that builds up to right here, which shows us our percentage average over 6 years, right down the middle there. And then we back up 5 or 10%, and or we move forward 5, 10, 15, or 20% for stretch goals. You can see down the left-hand column there were several different methodologies for certificates, a couple for degrees, and in all the backup for this, we explain why. But essentially, it was the ACCJC had several different methodologies over the years, and we weren't sure which one they were going to settle on. So that's just the way Dolly and his research department do things. They prepared every single methodology, and then when the ACCJC settled on one, which we'll get to in a moment, we were prepared for that. So you've got the minimum that are either 5 or 10% below the 6-year average, and then you have the aspirational, which are anywhere from 5 to 20% over the average. You can see here we settled on degrees method 2 as well as certificates measure 2, and we've laid out our multi-year average as well as the most recent term, what the minimum was and what the aspirational was, proposing minimums and proposing aspirational. This was all taken through our governance process last year, and so once they're posted, we're now coming back to show how we did. You can see for the previous couple of terms here, 2018-19, we not only met our minimum standard, we met the aspirational in all 4 areas, with the exception of transfer. We came up short on our aspirational in the 2018-19 year, but then for the 2019-20 year, we met both minimum and aspirational for all 4 metrics areas. And then for the 2020-21 year, and again, these do lag primarily because of the transfer component. They do lag by a year and a half. We're going back to the 2020-21 year as opposed to last year because our transfer numbers don't come in for a while. But for the 20 and 21 year, we met all 4 minimum standards and all 4 aspirational. So it was a good year, and this is just documentation that we provide to the ACCJC that we have institution set standards, both minimum and aspirational, and that we do present it to the board one time per year. At this point, we review, we revise, and we reset, and we take it back through our governance structure, and you'll see a new set of minimum and aspirational goals next year. This just chronicles when we took it through Academic Senate, District Governance Senate, our Management Council, our senior management, and then obviously it culminates tonight. Thank you, Dolly, to you, Tyler, and Ryan for all your hard work on that report. Very much appreciated. Now then, any questions on that before I move on? I should have asked that. Questions you may have on this?
No question, certainly laudable. And Dolly, it was obvious significant amount of work that went into all of the reports, and very much appreciated and echoed.
So then the next report is our state chancellor requires the metrics dashboard for student success. And this essentially chronicles the 6 areas: successful enrollment, learning progress, momentum, success, employment, and earnings. I don't think we plan on going there this evening, but this PowerPoint is or will be posted. You can also get to this dashboard through our research page or by going directly to calpassplus.org. But this is just one more dashboard, and you can find 100 on our research website in terms of how our students are doing, and they're all really slick. Everything I'm showing you tonight from this point on are really slick because you can not only see how our students are doing, but with just a couple of keystrokes, you can see how we compare with other community colleges in our system. It's always fun to kind of see how we compare to Bakersfield, Fresno, West Hills, Porterville, Reedley, and so forth. But this is a fabulous website, and it's really just our job to make you all as board members aware that it exists.
So the data, though, just so I'm clear,
Yeah,
but
sure.
all the data that, Dolly, that you're using for the reports just here for us, that's the same data that's going into this scorecard, correct?
Depends on the metrics. Sometimes we use in-house data. Sometimes they use data we submit to MIS to them, and they do their own processing.
Okay.
I would say, in a word, yes, but there's so many different ways that our chancellor's office may choose to use the data. Sometimes they'll use fall to fall. Sometimes they'll use year to year. Sometimes they'll go summer, fall, spring, although I think they've cleaned that up now. There were times where they would use summer, fall, spring, and then other reports they would use fall, spring, summer. They're vastly different, could be, with wherever they position, which summer they used and so forth. So we're normally, when we compare our data with a dashboard like this, unless we absolutely prepare everything for the chancellor's office, they'll be approximately correct and exactly wrong. Because you're never exactly like the way they've prepared it, and that's not just Sequoia's. That's all 73 districts, 115 community colleges. It's always a little bit of a challenge when we're trying to tie things exactly. Oh, wait a minute, this says you had 1,958 degrees, and you've been reporting 1,978, those kinds of things. And these guys will chase their tails for a few hours and figure out kind of what the problem was. But so in a word, yes, but normally there's a little discrepancy unless we prepare it and just submit it as a PDF to the chancellor's office.
But nothing major that makes the decision-making process or in terms of reaching goals any different?
No.
Okay, that's probably the heart of my question.
Yeah. Not at all. And then also, this is through the state. I may have said feds earlier, but this one is through the state as well. Student right to know rate disclosure website. What this does is chronicles our students' overall graduation or completion rate, as well as our transfer rate. And our total completion rate with degrees runs about 35%, and the transfer rate is 5 to 6%. And you think, why is it so low? And Dolly and I really jumped into a long conversation about that today. And the challenge is not in the numerator, the number of students that do complete or that do transfer on. Those numbers you get at convocation, we share those widely and publicly. The real driving force behind those numbers is how large the denominator is. Because virtually every student that comes here, it may not be an exact head count. There may be a few groups of students that aren't included in that denominator, but it's a big, big number. When somebody comes back to take an Excel spreadsheet class because they want to because they want to get that promotion at work or something like that. In order to get financial aid, they need to declare a certificate and or a degree path in order to do that. Well, that lands them in the denominator for this, even though they're just coming to take one class. And we could talk all day about examples about that. So that gets a little bit frustrating for us when we see that and we think, gosh, really what we're talking about is the students that come here with a goal to transfer out in 2 years. They're taking a full load. They're seeing their counselors when they're supposed to. The number's substantially higher, obviously. So that's the only thing that's a little frustrating with some of these right-to-know rate disclosures is that you don't always get the full picture. And I don't know how much they're used. When we went around and compared ourselves to 10 different community colleges within about an hour and a half, 2 hour radius, and all of them were right about the same as what we are. Just a little bit frustrating that maybe the chancellor's office doesn't do a little bit better job of sort of weeding out some of those anomalies, if you will. And then this is our federal college scorecard, and it shows, again, our overall graduation rate, about 36%. And again, this was right in line with other community colleges and about what we're used to as well. Now, this one does use some different filters so that we are looking at students with a declared desire to transfer out and so forth. So we feel pretty good about this rate, and again, it's used across the country. And when we compare ourselves to other community colleges, we really do a good job in this area. And then finally, this is something that's been required of us this year, and again, Dr. Ozturk and Ryan and Tyler were on this even before it became a requirement. This is exactly the kind of thing that our research department takes pride in putting together and then making it available to our entire college constituency. And I shared a lot of this at the convocation, but just walks through the change in unduplicated headcount from pre-pandemic through the main primary pandemic years, and then change in census in enrollments. And you can see that our female students held on a bit better than our male students did. And then the gender non-disclosure, unknown genders, they really fell off during this period of time. It's certainly a smaller end, but it's large enough that we needed to pay attention to it, and that group really fell off during the pandemic. I did share this slide at the convocation, and you see that all of our groups, from the district as a whole to first-time students to continuing students, returners and first-time transfers, those all fell off, both as headcount as well as census enrollments. And the only group that gained during the pandemic was our concurrent and dual-enrolled high school students. They were up both by headcount and enrollments, both up by over 15%. So if there was a little bit of a silver lining, it was that high school students maybe weren't being challenged at their high school, and so they used the College of Sequoia as a little bit of an on-ramp to get some college credits done. So we were excited about that. For information on these 5 reports, or just about anything under the sun that you want data regarding the College of the Sequoias, you can go to the giant fact book, or well, any of these tiles really, but the 2 that he's outlined there in orange, very, very helpful, and but some time to it, because once you jump onto one of these, it kind of sucks you in. It's kind of like internet surfing. You end up looking at a bunch of different reports that you didn't know that we had.
We know you have them because Dolly tells us.
Yeah. So, yeah, we got our questioning chipmunks there. Any questions that you have on any of these 5 reports? Well, I know, Dolly, leave it to Dolly. Thanks again, Dolly. Appreciate all your help on these reports.
Any questions, comments?
Thank you.
Chance to click on a couple of those links, and you're right, it does take
Sucks you in.
I have a question,
down the
but
rabbit hole, right?
It might not be
Information.
I have a question, but it might not be related. I was wondering, is there a way to get the information of how many students didn't start in the fall but started in the spring that may have went to a university or outside of the district but then came back to this district in the spring? Is that information available?
Those would be first-time transfer students.
There is a way, but it's kind of a complicated way. So we may have to submit a file to National Student Clearinghouse, and the records they may have, they can send it back to us.
Otherwise you wouldn't know where they were before, right? We don't ask them that question when they come here, right? Where they were before.
I'd be interested to know how many students leave in the fall outside the district and then, for whatever reason, come back to the local area and start school at COS, if that was possible.
Maybe prospective. Going forward.
Does.
So they're less schoolless, so it would be returning, like, so it would be their first time, or even if they marked first time, and then it prompts what their last college attended was. So we probably could pull that from CCC.
Dolly, don't you have a first-time transfer student, like on that one slide that I had at convocation? The ones that went, the blue and the orange went down. First-time transfer, no. Keep going, down to almost the very end. There, right there, yep, that one.
This one?
Yep.
Okay.
You've got a first-time transfer students there. Now, we don't always, it wouldn't, if it was UCLA or West Hills, it would still show to us as the same unless we really dug deep into the CCC apply, but I think those students would fall into that category, wouldn't they?
They might, but I think if you're asking if they were here and they left and they come back.
No.
They were like high school students and they went off to college in the fall.
Lived in our district, I guess.
Yeah, initially lived in our district, but then decided in the fall, after graduating high school, they went off to a different community college or university, but then after the fall, they returned back to.
Like our student trustee, you mean?
If
Yeah, that's an
they,
example.
if they fill out a CCC apply, we should be able to see that information in there.
All that to say, we'll look into it for you, Raymond. and get
Thank you.
something.
I appreciate it, thank you.
Small charge, probably.
Yeah, that's right. Any other questions?
Buy Dolly lunch or something.
Yes, exactly. Right. Moving on to the consent calendar, we have a number of items there, items 4 through 8 that are on the consent calendar, which are the minutes of the previous meeting of August 8th, personnel report, payment of bills, physical therapist assistant program, agreements for 2 outstationed businesses, Sequoia's Adult Education Memorandum of Understanding and Governance document, which read like bylaws. Any questions about any of those? We either take them as a group or anyone like to pull any of those off, either the trustees or anyone in the audience.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the consent calendar, items 4 through 8.
Moved by trustee Nunes and seconded by trustee Cardoza to approve the consent calendar as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, the same. Passed unanimously. Next are action items. The first is curriculum, new, modified, and deleted. Dr. Lacerna, welcome back.
Thank you. This curriculum report that's presented to you has been approved by the Curriculum Committee and the Academic Senate, and it's recommended that the board approve this. As you can, very short one, because this is, stuff that happened over summer or something like that. But the first four are just 5-year review for electrician training program, just an update. We have a new program. It's a certificate in multimedia design. And the cool thing about this is we hired a full-time temporary person last year to help us with our graphic design and pulling graphic design together with our fine arts. And this is one of the results of that work that he did. So new classes and a new certificate. And then two-year review program updates on our electrical applications and electrical theory classes. So pretty simple.
Action to, we have questions on any of that?
Nope.
If not.
Move to approve.
Moved by trustee Cardoza and seconded by trustee Macareno to approve as presented. If no further questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Passed unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Perez, already at the dais. Public hearing on the 2022-23 final district budget.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and present if you'd like, and then we can open the public hearing afterwards. Okay. Thanks, Megan. So tonight, for your approval, is the final adopted budget for 22-23, and on the board agenda item, you'll see on the first page, the tentative budget we took was 120 million, and tonight we're taking a budget of 132 million. And just what you're going to see on this presentation is just the general fund, the apportionment rather, the student center funding formula. And the first page of the BAI, you'll see it's going to be 89.9 million, and then the restricted other of the 42.6 makes up mostly all categoricals and some other block grants that we did receive. So with that, I'll go ahead and start the presentation. Again, I'll show you how we did for 21-22, what our adopted is for 22-23, then our fiscal solvency plan this year, and then one out year. So the fiscal year that ended June 30th of this year, so that was 21-22. Again, remember, our fiscal year starts July 1st through June 30th. We started out with a state apportionment of 78.6, again, federal and local funds, a little over 8.6. So our total revenue last year was 87.2. Total expenditures after we closed, and we usually close mid-August, 83.5. So our structural surplus this year, or the fiscal year that just ended, was 3.7 million. So what did we do with that 3.7 million? We added it on to our reserves. Our reserves that we started out last year at 24.2 million, add the 3.7, so roughly we're close to pretty much 28 million, so 27.9 million, or 33.5%. Remember, one of the board priorities is to make sure that we're above the average in reserves statewide. Statewide average is roughly a little over 29%, so we're right on the mark at 33.5.
Statewide, that seems like
everybody's growing.
That's crept up a little bit.
Well, one of the reasons all that CARES and HERF dollars that came out the last 2 years, a lot of people weren't spending their general fund; they were spending those dollars there. So, but people are starting to save their dollars there. What we did with some of the surplus, you'll see the second bullet, Hanford Solar, quad projects out in Hanford. We transferred to the Tulare Phase 2, the CTE program, ornamental horticulture. A lot of stuff here on Visalia, the buildings, the office renos, Memorial Gym. If you haven't seen that, it's like night and day with windows, HVAC, flooring, bleachers, all that. Stadium, that's one of the agenda items tonight, the scoreboard. Again, not me doing it, not you doing it. You're approving it, of course, thank you. But Byron and his team, so I just want to thank Byron for doing this. We're putting a lot of the money back into our facilities, so thank you, Byron, on that. Our OPEB.
Ron, has that, the OH project on Tulare, has that been Is that finished?
Yeah, we finished it in late May, I think it was.
I've seen it, it looks good. I did, I went to the plant sale.
They're using it.
All that fuss you guys made, we gotta take a drive out there, all of us.
I saw it myself with my own eyes.
So I think the next tour is over at Hanford, so you hear from Hanford out there. Then OPEB, other post-employment benefits, again, fully funded, though it's not as much as fully funded as you like, but the portfolio balance, it'll come back up. And then maintain prudent fiscal reserves at 33.5%. Again, just highlight some of the governor's budget priorities. His discretionary surplus, or our state surplus, grew from 45.7 to 49.2 billion. Big focus on pandemic recovery, and the second bullet, education, and that's going to be true what you see tonight. What I took to you and what you approved for tentative is totally different than what you're going to see for final adopted. Big time change. Again, reason why they passed the budget in June, but there's still a lot of work to be done in August. We found out the real numbers August 25th at the budget workshop, the Chancellor's budget workshop. So we use that information to make our final adopted budget there. Again, the left-hand side is tentative budget. Tentative is June, so the first row, deferred maintenance, energy project, instructional equipment. At tentative, it showed a 1.5, and then adopted 840 million. So there was a reduction. What does it mean to us, COS? 9.1 million. Of the 9.1, 1 million will be going over to instructional equipment. Dr. Lacerna's area, the deans and faculty will decide how they use that instructional equipment. Yeah, I see that. And the other 8.1 million, the Chancellor's Office and the Board of Governors is really pushing hard for the sustainability. They passed that act 2 years ago. They would like districts to use this money for PV, LED lighting, energy management systems, which we already do have. So Byron, and with our consultant, Compass Energy Solutions, is doing a district-wide audit now on all our LEDs, PV, and what have you. So we're looking over at Tulare for PV and the farmland, as other farmlands are putting solar out there. Maybe doing a PV structure over here at where we have one now, and then district-wide LED. Again, we're waiting for the report to see how it pans out, but remember, this is not part of the general fund. It's a grant given to us for energy efficiency projects. And then the third line down is block grant, pandemic related, not federal dollars, totally different from CARES and HERF dollars. This is, again, 750 at tentative, 650 million at adopted. For us, 6.02 million that we could use for pandemic related. We pretty much bought everything we could possibly buy using CARES and HERF dollars. What we plan on doing this is continue the 50% off food sales for the students for food insecurity. We do have 5 years, if I didn't say that, 5 years to spend this dollars. Instructional equipment too, you can use instructional equipment here. And then COVID testing, which really not that much of a cost, but we're continuing to do that with Elite. Again, I'll be working with the Budget Committee on some other ideas, and of course through senior management too. But we do want to continue the 50% off for food sales for students, because that's been a big hit there. Again, tentative budget, really nothing's changed. Cost of living allowance, 6.5% at tentative, same as adopted. The SCIF, Student Center Funding Formula base allocation increased from 125 million to 200 million. And what base allocation means is we're a medium college, so we get a certain dollar amount, and we have 2 centers each over 1,000 FTES, so that's another dollar amount. So that's what your base is. You start there, and then everything else comes down. And then base funding increase, 250 to 400 million. And then growth, we're trying to get to pre-pandemic FTS numbers, so we don't have any growth there. And then various categoricals, which really all fall under Jessica's area. Categorical 6.56% COLA. So what does all that percentage mean and all the dollars mean? For example, a credit, a full-time student, last year we received $4,212 for that full-time student. This year we're receiving $4,840. So a 15% increase. And you'll see down, as you go down, all those have pretty much been increased by 15%. Again, the 3 bullets or 3 buckets, and I'll show you those, of the Student Center Funding Formula. So that's why you'll see a big change from tentative to adopted there. Again, our base, medium college, which we are, 10,000 to 20,000 FTS. Last year, what that meant to us was 5.6 million. What does it mean to us this year? Almost 8 million, 7.9 million. So a big change, about 40% increase of apportionment revenue. State-approved centers, each over 1,000 FTS, and we have two, Hanford and Tulare. Last year was 1.4. This year is 1.9, almost 2 million per center. So if you go down to the next little chart, medium college, 5.6, 7.9, so that was an increase of 2.2. The two centers, instead of getting 2.8, we're getting about 4 million, increase of 1.1. So just the increase in our base, just starting off, was a 3.4 million increase. And that's a big dollar amount there. What we use for assumptions in the final adopted, our revenue, student center funding formula, COLA 6.56, our deficit 1.0341%. Again, I just, in parentheses, it's a district estimate. We always want to play it safe and just put a deficit in there, hoping, knocking on wood, that the deficit will go away at the end of the year. Most likely it always does, but we want to be prudent there and put something in there. Again, no growth funds. On the expenditure side, base budget augmentations, and that's something that we start in October, goes through the budget committee, through DGS, to the board. This is an opportunity for the campus community to come through their chairs, their deans, and their VPs saying, I need this increase in my base budget. And this is the reason why. Again, the president and myself and senior management looks it over, and we agree on what the threshold, what the dollar amount, what we could afford. And then again, we take that through our shared governance and ultimately to you, the board. So this year, 987,000. Pay increase that all employees received. Again, it's 1% over the funded growth, or excuse me, funded COLA. So it's 7.56%. Always get step and column. And we budget for PERS and STIRS, and then miscellaneous inflationary increases, mostly utilities and what have you there. Cal PERS, Cal STIRS, just the rate increase for this year, 1.2 million, and you'll see the STIRS and PERS rates there. Also, just a note, we do pre-fund or condition our budget. So not only in this budget this year, you'll see the 1.2, but you'll also see the 23-24, 24-25 increase, which is 333,000. So we know that will fall out at the end of the year, but we're just pre-funding or conditioning our budget there. All this is contingent on the emergency conditions allowance. And what's that mean is that, remember, board, you approved that plan last month. The chancellor's office, the board of governors recognized that because the pandemic hit in 20, that students were going to leave the colleges. We didn't want the colleges to go under, so there was a decision made that we will be funded at the 2020 level. So currently, even though it shows 2022 at a little under 9,000, 8,955 FTS, we're actually being funded on 10,426 FTS. That's emergency conditions allowance. This year is different. The last 2 years, all we had to do is sign a piece of paper and say, yes, we want to opt in. This year, they're making us do, and you've seen the plan, all the things that we have to do. My 2 cents, I think they're doing it because they're trying to get colleges to get back to normal, face-to-face instruction. So they're saying, if you want this, show us what your modalities are and some other things that they're doing. Again, if we don't get this, and I expect most of all the colleges that apply will probably get it. If we don't, the worst case scenario is $5 million hit to the budget. It'll be $5 million less. But I'm not losing any sleep. I think we'll get that. We'll know on October 15th about that. Again, the 3 buckets that make up the Student Center Funding Formula, or SCIF. Again, the first bucket is 70% base allocation, the size of your district, 2 educational centers, and the average of 3 years of your FTES generation. Again, our 3 years is the 10,426. The second bucket is supplemental Pell Grant recipients, the California Promise Grant, the old BOG waiver, AB 540, and that's prior year, actual prior year students. And then student success, 10%. It's all the degree attainment, the units, regional living allowance, and that's an average of 3 years. That's not the ECA, that's the actual numbers of FTES. So again, you see the 70% is at 63 million, 20% is at 16 million, and then 10% is 11 million. And you'll see up above in the title, the estimated deficit factor. If that factor would go away, that's 930,000. So if you'd add that to the 89,899, so in all actuality, our general fund unrestricted budget is about $90 million this year. The difference between tentative and adopted. In June, you approved tentative. Again, this was and the reason that we bring a tentative budget is basically allows the district to start spending dollars July 1st before the budget is fully developed at the state level. And then in August, the chancellor's office will come out with everything else that we need to know to present to you tonight, the final adopted budget. So bottom line, apportionment revenue, 3/4 on the way down, 82.3. Look over to the right, final adopted is 90.8, a change of 8.5 million. Again, deficit factor, of course, went up. Our total apportionment revenue from tentative 81.4 to 89.8 or 90 million. Again, that's all about the increases of all the base allocation and all the FTS dollar increases. What our estimate was and is at this time, at tentative budget, we showed a surplus of 4.5. Tonight, we're showing a final adopted surplus of 12.1. I do just want to remind everybody that's based, and you see it up there, based upon the approval of the emergency conditions allowance. If that doesn't come through, it's $7 million. We're still in a good spot. So again, what I'll do, probably starting in October, November, I'll work with President Calvin, senior management, go through budget committee and DGS on, obviously we're going to have a big surplus, so what are the needs of the district? Remember, we did, and this is totally pre-talking to anybody, shared governance wise, is remember we set up that special reserve for economic uncertainties when COVID hit. We might want to just throw at least $5 million in there, just knowing that, gee whiz, if the ECA doesn't get approved, that $5 million is sitting there right now. But again, this is just very prelim, and we'll be bringing that through shared governance and ultimately to you, the board. We'll be talking about that at your retreat also, and we'll make sure we get that on for all the necessary transfers that need to be done. So fiscal solvency plan for this year and 1 year out. You'll see our assumptions on revenue and expenditures for 22-23, what I just went over, and then 23-24 again, it's SCIF. COLA is projecting that at 3.5. Zero growth, again, we're using that deficit factor of 1.0341. Expenditures, step and column, stirs and purrs, the raise, 4.5. Again, that will be the last year of the 3-year contract where it's 1% overfunded COLA, health and welfare, and other increases. So how are we looking this year and 2 years? This year and next year? So you'll see this year at 12.1. Next year, if everything stays as it is right now with no changes, 10.7 million there. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board may have for the final adopted for 22-23.
Any questions prior to the public hearing?
This looks a little different than the fiscal solvency plans that we saw 7, 8 years ago, I think. And state surplus situation, of course. And to a certain extent, it's a bit surprising, you know, because I know that we're in the midst of inflationary situation and certain economic numbers don't look that good, but yet the state seems to be generating a bit of revenue. I know it's taxes on here and there and certain things, which has helped their situation. So we've kind of become the benefactor of that to a certain extent.
I think there are indicators that we may be in for some rough waters. It may not come next year, but we're gonna see it again. So I think the plans we make now to protect ourselves then are important, and I feel like we've taken taken steps to do just that, insulate ourselves from some tough budget years that in all likelihood we're going to see in the next 3 to 5 years.
The emergency.
Conditions allowance? Mm-hmm.
Where would you predict that the state is going to do with that in terms of, I don't know that enrollment's going to jump right back in the next year, back to where it was before. Do you think they'll kind of do a little bit of both and start cutting that out and giving you an incentive to, are
I'll
you going to be
defer
hurt?
to President Calvin.
Well, just because I have strong opinions about it, I think that they're pushing us to get back to pre-pandemic levels as well they should, and I think we're on our way. We saw the numbers earlier that Dolly's slides showed how far we dropped on head count and enrollment during those 2 primary pandemic years. And we were hoping to get maybe this year half of that 14 or 15% decline that we were over fall of 19. And we're back to within about 4%. So half would have been 7.5% or so. We're back to within 4%, and we were tracking almost dead on with fall of 19, which is the largest enrollment year we've had in our 100-year history, or 96-year history. So, we're 3.5%, 4% off the pace of the largest enrollment fall in our history. And so we feel like we're coming back strong, and we'll be fine. And we also have a surplus to insulate ourselves if we do fall a little bit short. I don't know that all districts are coming back as strong as we are, and most don't operate with a surplus either. And so if the state goes through with this, there's going to be a lot of districts, I believe, that are underwater. And generally the state does not want to see that. So I think they're pushing everyone to get back, and like I said, as well they should, but I don't know that when push comes to shove, if they'll let these districts fail. And
There'll be something else that'll be kind of a.
maybe so. In either case,
a different Band-Aid.
we're set up to weather whatever comes our way, which is a great feeling.
Yep.
I just don't see them allowing those districts to fail.
Thank you.
Anything else? If not, we'll open the public hearing. The purpose of this public hearing is to provide members of the public an opportunity to address the board with comments and/or concerns regarding the final proposed 2022-23 budget. So that is the purpose. With that, we'll open the public hearing and take any comments. We'll actually take them either for or against, or just general comments or questions with regards to the budget as just was presented. Seeing none, don't jump out of your seats now. I know you all got questions, right?
Somebody should do it just so I could say that for once, somebody
right.
talked during
Yeah,
the budget meeting, but
never
have.
Right. We'll close the public hearing and turn it back to the board for action.
Move to approve the budget.
I'll second.
Moved by trustee Cardoza, second by trustee Nunes to adopt the final budget as presented. Is that roll? No. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, the same? Passes unanimously. Thank you, Ron, and to all your hardworking staff.
Thank you.
Great
I'll pass the word. Thank you.
Next is the annual appropriation limit. Mr.
Oh,
Perez,
good.
you're up again.
Blowing that up because I couldn't see that, so thank you. No, that's
Just
good.
wing it, Ron, you know this by
The next
heart.
item is Resolution 2022-13. It's the annual appropriation limit, otherwise known as the GAN. A little background, back in 1979, the state passed Proposition 4, the GAN limit, that pretty much put a cap on spending of state public entities within the state. Then there was a change in 21, and that's in the last part of this background paragraph there. And basically is what it's saying, is because every year we'd have to pass a GAN to say, here's your limit, this is what you're subject to, is there an excess? And we could always have more taxes than we had. This year is different, though. So they changed it now. It's no longer district-specific. It's all districts are rolled together, and the chancellor's office makes that determination as a system, not as an individual district. So if, with that saying, if you scroll down a little more, I think there's a GAN presentation. I'll go over that real quick. Trust me, folks.
The one from earlier today?
Yes. There we go. So GAN limit changes, and I'll go over that, and then we'll come back if you don't mind.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I'm messing with you here. Again, what has changed? Again, community colleges limit is transferred to the state, no longer at districts. Again, if a district had an excess, last year our excess, which means we had more space, was $60 million. This year, see, we're actually over by $14 million. So that $60 million was transferred to the state level, that when they put all the community college districts together, whatever that number was, they would take care of all the other districts that were over their limit there. So that's what they're doing. Next slide, please. Again, going forward, we are required by the board, or the board is required to pass a resolution on the GAN limit. Again, they use our last bullet, they use our community college financial statements, or the 311, to make sure our calculations are correct. Next slide, again, it's a Q&A. A lot of questions is, what if my GAN limit gets reduced? Do I lose any funding? Does the district lose any funding? Do I got to return the money to the taxpayers? I got to return the money to the state? Question is no. What if our community college district GAN limit exceeds the appropriation limit in the future? Again, which ours does. We just pass a resolution. Again, it's rolled up at the state level and they handle that there. So Megan, if you'd go back up, I'm looking for the two worksheets. And I'll start with the one more, yeah. That one, oh, you probably had it, I'm sorry, if you go down. Does that one say 22, 23? Okay, 22, 23. If you look at row J, appropriation limit, and this is current year, our appropriations limit is at 73.9 million. That means we're gonna only get a recipient of taxes from the public at 73.9. But if you go down a little further, appropriations subject to the limit, you'll see all the taxes, state aid, what you have, and our 311, we're at 88.9 million, or 14 million over. Again, it's all rolled up, so nothing to worry about as a board. And then the next slide, or the next worksheet, oh, I thought I had one in there. There we go.
Okay.
Is that, no, go down one more. There we go. So this is 2021. So remember, last year what we approved, our G, row G, showed our appropriations limit at 130.9 million. So
Yeah, we had a big drop.
remember you made a comment about, hey, how do we get up to that? We're pretty dang close. We're 132 million, but yeah. So 130.9 million. Now, if you scroll down just a little bit more, we're at 70 million, so a $60 million excess. So that excess gap that we're able to grow, which we're not growing, was sent to the state, all the other community colleges, all their excess, they add it all up. Here's our total excess. What other districts are over? Okay, we're gonna net that out, and all community colleges are district. So it's almost like a shell game that.
That's what it
being
sounds
played at the
like.
state.
I couldn't figure out a word for it, but I think you nailed it.
So basically, what I'm asking the board is to adopt the resolution on establishing our GAN limit, 2022-13.
Will we get a report on, will we get a report overall?
Yes.
When everybody's together,
So
what
when
it looks
everybody
like?
submits,
To see if they're,
just like our reserve
Yeah.
report, we'll get a GAN limit report
Okay.
to see where everybody's at and
Okay.
how the state ends up.
Okay, I've heard enough.
done with this one.
I tap danced that one.
I would move for adoption of resolution 2022-13.
Second.
By trustee Nunes, seconded by trustee Macareno to approve the resolution as presented. Roll call, please.
Trustee Nunes?
Aye.
Trustee Macareno?
Aye.
Trustee Cardoza?
Aye.
Trustee Lane?
Aye, and passed.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Ron. Byron.
Now let's spend some of that money.
Piggyback
Ron just
contract,
talked about.
purchase of video
I'll
scoreboard.
follow Ron all day long when he's doing the budget. He says we have money, I'll spend it.
That's right.
Easy.
All right, tonight in front of you, you have a request to authorize a piggyback contract for the purchase of a new video scoreboard for the stadium improvements project. As you may recall, you've already authorized or awarded the bid for the bleacher seating portion as well as the modular restroom concession stand building. There are a few other bids that we will be bringing forth to you in the upcoming months. So tonight, of course, is the scoreboard. Currently, the site work is out to bid as we speak. So we're hoping to bring that to you in October for consideration for award. And then the track component, resurfacing the track, we'll probably bring to you in about November, December. Just for reference, construction is looking to start as soon as the football season is over, so mid-November. We'll be breaking ground out there, assuming all the bids work out as planned, and tentatively wrapping up completion of the construction project in May of next year. So that's the goal. So this agenda item in particular, we are looking at, we're proposing to purchase a Nevco video scoreboard. And just for reference, we have installed Nevco video boards here on the campus, most recently in Porter Fieldhouse Gym, just in January of this year. So we have two 9-foot by 16-foot video boards in there. Some of you have probably been to the basketball games and seen it. They are amazing. The quality is fantastic. They're very easy to use. We've had a great experience with Nevco so far. Another local reference is the Visalia Rawhide. I think a year ago they installed a large display, just slightly larger than what we're proposing for our football stadium. And again, they've had nothing but great experience with that product. So this specific project, if you want to look at the picture, I can kind of talk about it. The overall height of the scoreboard structure itself is 45 feet, so 45 feet tall. It'll be one of the tallest structures on this campus, I think second to the theater and Porter Fieldhouse Gym. The video display itself sits 15 feet high off of the ground, so it'll just clear the bleachers in the D zone right there in the south end. The display itself is 19 feet tall and 32 feet wide. For reference, this wall right here is probably just a little bit larger than 32 feet wide. It's about 12 feet tall, so it'll be another 7 feet taller than this right here. So I think it's a 20, I forgot what it's a 20 millimeter display, I believe is what it is. But great picture out there, especially facing the north. It won't have the issue of the sun shining on it. The sun will be to the back. And then you'll see all of the yardage and the time, the clock and everything will be above the display itself. This is just graphics that we can display on the back of it, welcoming people to the Sequoia Stadium, and then maybe some advertisement for athletics at the bottom. It will be linked back to the press box. So included in this bid is the actual installation of the entire board, so they will construct the footings, the structure itself, so all the steel involved as well as all the conduit, pulling cable back to the press box, all the equipment involved up at the press box itself. It is very similar to, of course, the displays that we have in Porter Fieldhouse, so it's nice to be able to standardize all of that equipment. So this is coming at a price of $678,000 and $678,008.10 by virtue of their piggyback for Nevco scoreboards, and it is being sold through ABV Scoreboard Services out of Camarillo, California. So we are requesting that the board authorize the piggyback contract for this purchase. Any questions? Yes, Ken.
Byron, I think when I read here, said that this included an additional small scoreboard too. Is that
Correct.
Is that going to be on the building?
That'll replace the existing scoreboard that we have in place right now that sits against the swim structure. Right.
That'll just be
It's a like for like, same size, same information, much smaller.
But it's just run off of one set of controllers too, right? Like
Correct, it's all synced together.
primarily just to align with the bigger board. You put the score up on the big one and it shows up on the smaller one.
And that'll be a cellular signal to that small one, which is what we have now.
And I'll just say, I think I may have mentioned this at Convocation too, that obviously I like sports as much as the next guy, and I want our student athletes to feel supported just like all the other groups on our campus. This also has kind of a community outreach and marketing piece, and I think for those of us that joined us on Saturday, even without the stadium, having a couple thousand people on our campus that wouldn't otherwise be here on a Saturday morning really just felt like a community festival. I'm looking at Nick and I'm thinking of how great that was with Beauty and the Beast in the spring, 3 straight nights, sold out, people everywhere in our quad. It's just a surreal feeling. And we had another similar experience on Saturday. Byron and all his guys are out there. They're running the barbecue stand, and we had food trucks there. It was just fabulous. And when the stadium's done and this scoreboard is there and we can play all the videos, I mean, Lauren and Vanessa have probably 100 videos of our various programs and outreach and all that sort of thing. People come here for a football game, somebody drags them to a football game, and all of a sudden they leave thinking, man, COS got it going on. I didn't know they had that welding program, that fashion program, this, that, the other. I had no idea. But I'm sitting there at a football game, and they start showing me these videos, and I realize just how much our local community college does. We're telling our story better, and this is a fabulous way to do it, 3,000 people at a time.
And this does come with the equipment to do the instant replays as well as the camera in the stands. So if someone can walk through and take live footage of people, it'll just show up on the scoreboard.
Kiss cam.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we all kiss cam.
Helmet shuffle, all that. Any other questions?
Move to approve the contract to purchase the video scoreboard for our stadium improvement project.
Second.
Moved by trustee Cardoza, second by trustee Macareno to make the purchase as outlined and stated in the proposal. Is this?
Not roll call.
Not roll call. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Unanimous. Go get them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Go
Any
big or
other,
go home.
anything else from the board, from the trustees? If not, Mr. Gravani, thank you for joining us and welcome to the group. Pleased to have you, and we stand adjourned.